welcome back to the YouTube channel. So we're starting a new series, as I mentioned to all of you. It's going to be called the Takeoff series. So we've got a very special guest here to talk to you about property investing. Warren Gosling, I'm a massive fan of his, and I thought he would be the perfect person to start this new series. So Warren, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here and talking about my favorite subject, really, property. So yeah, looking forward to this, man.
Awesome. So I've watched a lot of your videos on YouTube, and I must say, like, I'm really impressed with the amount of knowledge that you give out there, and it's really inspiring. Because personally, for myself, I only have one property at the moment, so it's something that I'm looking to get, and I'm sure that my subscribers are going to find a lot of value. So Warren, why don't you explain, who are you exactly?
Yeah, I mean, so my name is Warren Gosling. Grew up in Enns in Southeast London, very much working class on a council estate, and I really went into banking from school. Economics was, one of my favorite subjects. I had a great teacher, and it's one of those things at school, when you get a really good teacher. I mean, this guy could have taught PE, I would have gone into geography, I would have been a geologist, but it just happened to be economics. Really enjoyed the subject, and off the back of that, I went into banking during 2008, which was a really interesting time. And funnily enough, a lot of that was caused by a housing market subprime mortgage crisis.
Wow.
During 2008, the last big crash, and really kind of switched my attention towards, or caught my attention then, property did, and money in general, just finance. And over the last few years, just been doing, more, well, last year really, been doing more on social media to kind of educate people more on economics and finance based on my background. I want to give back to people. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell, really.
Awesome. And like I said, I'm a massive fan of what you do. What actually got you into property investing? Why did you think about property, not stocks?
At the time, I was actually working in a consultancy, still in banking, but in a consultant capacity, and being, connected or affiliated with the finance industry. The hours can be hard. So I was at a time when I was like, in my late 20s, and I was just doing mad hours, and actually got burnt out. So at the time, I didn't actually know what burnout was. I didn't know what was happening to me, but I was just like incapacitated for, altogether, when I add it all up, the best part of probably about 9 months when you add it all together. And I had time to really stop and take stock, whilst I'm sitting at home and I'm not working. I'm a worker, I love to work. I love to be occupied to the point I don't work myself too hard. Wow. So anyway, I thought, well, what do I really want from life? And I just came to the conclusion over the course of a few months that I like to work, I like finance, but I don't want to do this forever. I don't even want to do this past 40. So I was like, I got a bit dramatic, but I was like, I want to replace my income. So you asked why not stocks and, other types of stuff. I was really like, what is something that you can invest in, or what is something that you can put your money in that is going to give you a regular stream of income per month that is equivalent to or greater to your wage that you can scale up? Looked at stocks, possible with dividends, but you have to have millions invested in stocks to actually get a regular income. That's
true. That's very true.
I do still invest in stocks, but it's not my primary focus. I looked at starting a business, but I had no ideas. That would be great. But you're working as well, like arguably just as hard if you're trying to, build a business up off the ground. But anyway, came to property, and the great thing about property is that you can get a regular income from rent per month that can replace your wage, but also you benefit from capital appreciation over time. So property in the UK doubles approximately every 10 years in price. So I was like, well, if I invest now, I can replace my income maybe over the course of like 5 to 10 years, and also when I get to like 40, 50, 60, could be sitting on potentially millions of capital appreciation to give to kids and all that kind of good stuff. So that was what how I arrived at property.
Wow, wow. You said so much. You talked about like financial freedom, you're not wanting to work your 9 to 5 when you're getting into your 40s. We're talking about like generating like a second stream of income, which is actually very important in this day and age. A lot of people rely on one income. And the issue with that is if you lose that income, what else do you have coming in? So having that as a thought is great. And then the capital appreciation is another thing where you can enable yourself to build wealth. So those are some really, really, really great things. But before we continue going into property investing, I actually wanted to ask you a very quick question. What's your worst financial mistake that you've made?
I would say a credit card. I don't think credit cards are bad. Credit cards are actually good. They can help you build your credit and all of that. But I overborrowed. I was early 20s and the boys were going to Miami and I needed money. And it just happened to be at the same time. And this is a whole nother conversation, but banks were just inundating me with offers for credit card. And I had no prior credit history or real meaningful working experience by then. They offered me a credit card of a £10,000 limit. Wow. And it just happened to be that the holiday and the offer kind of synced and I made a decision to take it. And I probably spent the next, I'd say 5, 6 years paying that back.
Wow.
You know, that we can talk all day about, you know, giving them those kind of credit card limits to young people, but yeah, that was a mistake that I learned from the hard way.
That honestly, I feel like I could have made the same mistake if Miami was on the table. I feel like I would have definitely wanted to get a credit card as well. I've heard so many stories about Miami being so expensive. Like, it's crazy, but I'm sure it was worth it. You've got the experience, you know, obviously.
I'll never forget that holiday. I'll never forget that. I'll give you a funny story. I remember we was at a pool party, and this is just Miami in a nutshell.
Yeah.
They were going around with, you know, like Ciroc vodka.
Yeah. I love Ciroc.
It's good stuff, man. And I discovered it out there. So I kind of like this new drink and I got addicted to it. But anyway, there was like a shop across the road from where we were staying. You could buy it there for like, I don't know, it's about, you know, $50, $60. It was in a pool party, kind of like an exclusive pool party. It wasn't even my hotel. We just, you know, met some friends and went there. I was like, yeah, I'll take a bottle of Ciroc. They bought it over $500.
Wow.
And it didn't make any sense. And, you know,
that's insane.
Yeah. And, you know, that's where $500 of that 10,000 limit went to.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, man. 5% of your money. That is bad. I just had to do the quick maths on that.
I know, yeah. That was very, very sharp.
Oh my gosh, that is insane. I love hearing stories like that because what it does is we're all human at the end of the day. We all make, you know, financial mistakes and we have to go through them sometimes to be able to understand what we want. And it doesn't mean that we're bad people. It's just something that happens in life at the end of the day. You're not going to be pitch perfect and you shouldn't be pitch perfect. You know, life isn't pitch perfect. Sometimes it's okay to stray off the path, but at the same time, try and get yourself back on the path like Warren did here. Now he's a property mogul. Going back into the property investing, how many properties do you have in your portfolio at the moment?
I've got 3 buy-to-lets and one that, you know, we own, but 3 right now. And yeah, I've kind of accumulated those over the last 4 years, really.
Wow. In 4 years? You got 4 properties in 4 years?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. How did you do that? How? How did you do this?
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. I made a video on it. So what I did is, you know, I mentioned at the beginning of the video how I quit my job, went traveling. Well, I didn't say I went traveling. I could go traveling, and I thought about what I wanted to do, and you know, I arrived at property. I had to basically increase my income, bro. So I went from working perm to contracting. Which is a lot more money. It was part of my bigger strategy. I was like, I need to replace my income in, you know, 5 to 10 years. So I need more money. So yeah, in a nutshell, really, it was changing. You know, I re-specialized in an area of work I wasn't a specialist in, that paid more money, but was something that I could kind of segue or transfer into, still within banking. And I've been doing this contractor life for the last came back in 2015. So for the last 6 years,
Wow.
I buy up north. So I buy cheaper property.
Okay.
I'm gonna get to fly London in 4 years. No way.
Wow. Even then, that's still insane because you're literally going through the process multiple times. You're saving, or stacking, paying a deposit, going through that. You're stacking again, going through that process again, and that's absolutely insane. That's so impressive. Like I feel like I'm so proud of you for doing that.
Wow.
Like that's insane. No, honestly, because it's not something that you hear that much, especially somebody that is so young. Like you don't hear that often. And you had a strategy in place. You said, okay, you know what? I need to improve my salary. I need to have a higher salary so that I can save, so that I can buy property. You had a strategy. Most people sometimes when they're looking for jobs, they'll, move or maybe get a 10K increase, 15K increase if they're lucky, right? And then all they're thinking about is getting a new whip, a new brand Mercedes Benz, going to go and rent some expensive apartment, think about getting designer bags and other products. They don't think about, actually, you know what, this extra 10 grand, let me save this, let me think about trying to get myself into property, which you have done, and you've shown that it's possible to do that. So you said that you've got it in north of the UK. What areas in particular are your properties located?
Yeah. I'm in Liverpool. I've got 2 in Liverpool and 1 in Sheffield right now.
Okay.
So, yeah, band really up north. Like maybe you want to go into Manchester's a bit less affordable these days, but if something else got Manchester for a good price, I'd go there tomorrow. Also Liverpool, Nottingham and Leeds are also 2 other places that I'm quite keen to go into next.
I would love Manchester because it's only 2 hours on the train to get there. Everybody's noticed that now, so it's getting harder. Like Birmingham, Manchester, all these places, they're so accessible now. You can go there and come back in a day. That's probably why it's so much more expensive. This is another interesting question. What's the value of your portfolio?
I'll answer it in 2 parts because I actually negotiated. Wasn't huge money, but I negotiated 5K off of one flat, and I think it was off of another one. So, I mean, the benefit of that is that you get equity from day one. But anyway, the first one was 115. The second one was 105, but I got it for 100. The third one was 105 again, but I got it for 98, 98 and a half. So, in total, it's around about 300K. Wow. But the first one I bought in Liverpool, that's already up. I had a desktop appraisal of that, and they said that's up by 15K since I bought it.
Wow.
So 130 now. And the one in Sheffield, I think, is up about 5 grand. So, but I only got that 2 years ago. But they're appreciating in value already. So quite a bit of equity in there already.
This is how I know, like, you thought this through and you're so smart with your money, because that 300K, one person might have just gone and bought just a 300K property. But you said, no, let me get 3 properties. They're going to increase in value in each, and I'm going to get an income from each of them, and they're going to grow at different rates. So talk me through that. How did you think about, doing that? Why did you go for 3 different properties instead of 1 big property?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, you're, obviously you being the stocks guy, you get 1 property in 1 location for, as you said, for example, for 300K.
Yeah.
If anything happens in that area, that 1 house, you're at the mercy of that particular local market. But then you get kind of expand out to 3 properties in 3 different areas. One might have a bad year or a bad few years, but the other 2 in other areas, those areas might be booming. So, you're spreading your risk. And also I did probably, I'd say at least a year's worth of research before I even, started picking up or going on Zoopla or Rightmove. Yeah. I was like, okay, so what is a yield? What is capital appreciation? How does it grow in different parts of the UK? And luckily, the sources that I was tapping into, they were saying from like 4 years ago, bro, go up north, when nobody was talking about it. Right, listen, I'm saving, sacrificed everything, bro. I only just got a car 2 years ago. You're saying that people like get
wow, that's awesome.
I a lot of sacrifice, But then I was like, as soon as I get that level, I'm going straight up north. And I took so many trips. I went to Manchester, Liverpool. I went to all the cities before I even bought one. So yeah, a lot of research. And to answer your original question, I took 3 because I wanted to spread my risk and, hopefully benefit from 2 different cities that have grown over time. Yeah.
Awesome. That makes sense now that you think about it. You see, this is how you know I'm not a property investor, because I didn't even think of it like that, but you're completely right. Like stocks, you do have to diversify yourself, because ultimately, like you were saying, some cities are gonna, grow rapidly more than others. We don't know which ones are going to be the hotspots. Obviously, Manchester, Birmingham are hotspots because of their train lines, but it's very easily that the other areas that you're talking about, Liverpool, Sheffield, all could be, hotspots in the future. I want to balance it out a little bit because it's sounding all great so far. It's sounding good, but I want to also understand from your side, because of all the experience that you've gained over this last 4 years. So what's been the worst thing that's happened to you on your property investing journey?
I can give you 2 examples actually, but the first one was one of my properties in Liverpool. But I remember probably I think it was about 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
An agent came to me and they said, "Hey, we've got a potential person who wants to do rent to rent on your property."
Okay.
In very simple terms, rent to rent is somebody would approach you, or me as a landlord, and say, "Hey, I'm going to pay you X, which is usually above what you could rent it out as a buy-to-let on the market." Yeah. So, for example, right now I'm renting it out for 625 a month, but he offered me 750 a month, guaranteed 5 years. Okay. And in return, he then uses my flat for short-term accommodation. So we're talking like Airbnb and Booking.com. So 1, 2 night, 5 night stays. He's using the flat for that, and he's just keeping the difference. So anyway, I said, yeah, I'll do that if you're going to guarantee me rent for 5 years, because being a landlord, tenants come and go. So you have in between 2-3 months at a time when there's just nobody in there. So I was like, yeah, that's quite secure. Anyway, he did all that. And long story short, they changed the rules. So it's a block of flats, and the block manager said, "We don't want anybody in this block to be using the flats for rent to rent anymore." So the guy said, "Oh, look, I can't do rent to rent on the flat anymore. I'm going to have to hand you back the keys. Can't do it." I was like, okay, fine. That's okay. I understand. The rules are the rules. And then they did an inspection, and it turned out the state of the flat was just really bad. So he'd taken, when I summed it all up, I think the number was around about, it's about £700 worth of damage. So paint was chipped off. There were like holes in parts of the wall. There was furniture. And I was just like, what in I can't even say the word here. Then anyway, not to long out the story, but I called up, the local council. I talked to citizen advice. I said, what legal precaution steps can I take to get that money back? The guy's just taking a mick. And they said, long story short, there's not a lot you can do. They said by the time you pay, legal fees, take him to court in the time, you will end up spending more than you'll actually get back from him. So they said, you're just going to have to, they recommended you just swallow it. So that is the biggest mistake I made. I would never let somebody use my flat in that way again. And I'll make sure that I properly vet tenant. Well, I do make sure that I properly vet tenants up front, because it can cost you real money. And it did cost. Yeah.
Wow. So this guy clearly, whoever he was renting it to, he clearly didn't vet who these people were. He didn't even check what they were doing in the house. He didn't check the state of the house. He didn't do any sort of repairs, nothing. He just wanted to make a quick buck off you, basically.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry to hear that. I mean, I'm glad that situation's passed. So, I mean, this is a bit of a sidetrack question with the rent to rent. Do you think that you would ever allow anybody to do rent to rent again on your properties, now having gone through that experience?
I personally wouldn't, just because of my experience, but I'm sure I could probably do it again and be absolutely fine. I do take part of my responsibility was that I should have gone and checked on the flat more often, because I didn't over the course of 9 months. And I think before you were supposed to check it every 6 months. So perhaps, well, I'm pretty sure if I'd have gone, you know, at least once or twice over those 9 months, I would have seen it and been like, hey, sort this out or go. So that was my fault in that I didn't do that. But obviously, you shouldn't cause all that damage and take him, you know, items with him. So no.
I think I remember watching this video. I think I remember somebody about taking items. Oh my God. How do people do this? I just don't understand. Like, living like cave animals, honestly. Putting holes in the wall, like chipping blades. I don't get it. What do you have to do something like that? Like, it doesn't make no sense.
It doesn't make any sense why somebody would think to do that. But, you know, people are crazy out here, man.
Oh my gosh. Oh my God. Okay, so that takes me to the next question, because it does sound like, you know, getting into property investing, although it reaps a lot of rewards, it also feels like it can be very, very challenging. So what would you say is the biggest challenge for a beginner to get into property investing, or somebody that is new to property investing? What would be their biggest challenges?
I'll be honest with you. I think the biggest challenge is getting started. I actually do manage my properties myself. I have a letting agency that finds the tenants for me, and they collect the rent. Day to day, I do all of the interactions with the tenants. I talk to my tenants probably once every 3 months, if that. Like, honestly, 3 or 4 times a year. You know, I think we touched on it before. Vetting that's done by a good lettings agency. They will give you good tenants where, you know, they haven't put a hole in the wall, they haven't stolen, you know, coffee tables and all of this headache that you don't need. I don't get any of that. So I think the biggest challenge is actually getting started and just doing the research, because a lot of people get into analysis paralysis of like, well, when should I buy? The amount of times I've had this conversation, people are like, oh, when should I buy? When's the right time? I'm like, now. Like, no. You got Brexit, you got Corona, you got something around the corner that we don't know is going to happen yet. So no, I'm waiting. And these people never end up investing. So I think it's getting started for most people.
Awesome. It sounds like people are just so paranoid, and they feel like when they part their money, it's going to lose that value. It's just like stocks. A lot of people, they invest in stocks. Oh, it's gone down. Oh, I failed. It's just like this. People don't have that patience that's required to get to where you've got to. And you've got into a great place because you decided to take the plunge, you decided to be consistent, you decided to do your research. There's a lot of things that goes into it. And it's like you said, you have to definitely get started to doing it. So for beginners, what would you say is the best way to start your property investing journey? For me, for example, I want to get onto, you know, buying a second property, but that'll be my first investment. What would you say in terms of helping us, you know, take that plunge?
Yeah, I'd say start with your goals. So a lot of people might not necessarily link their life goals to their investing goals. So I mentioned right at the beginning, for me, my goal is to replace my income. So once I figured that out, it became very easy for me. I'm like, I don't necessarily, for example, I'm not going to get into property to just have it sit there and get to X in the future and then be like, oh, okay, you know, in the future it's worth a lot more and now I can take that money out. I'm not necessarily looking for capital appreciation. Obviously that's great. What I'm looking for is a yield income from rent. So start with your goals. So for example, if you're somebody watching right now and you're like, you know what, in the next 2 years, I want to go and do like missionary work in Cambodia. You're probably not going to want to get a buy to let that you have to manage yourself because you're not going to be here. Or, you know, so link your life goals to it. And then, you know, if you're looking, you're either going to be looking for like income or capital appreciation or both. And also I'd say figure out if you're time poor or time rich. And by that, I mean, you know, if you have a busy job day to day, you're probably not going to want to buy a property and do say like HMOs. And a HMO is a house where you have, you know, 5 rooms and you let them all out into individuals, because that's a lot more work than a standard buy to let. So work out your time and your goals. And then once you know what that is,
Yeah.
Start doing research, so start watching videos like this on YouTube, podcasts, property forums like Property Tribes, and, just learn it. And then just take the step, because you're not going to know everything. And it can be, it is as scary as probably the biggest purchase that most people make in their lifetime, a house.
Yeah.
But you have to get to a stage where, 70-80% there, do it. You're not going to be 100% when you actually, take that leap. Very few people are, but 70-80% is good.
It's about setting your goals, whether you want income, capital appreciation, or both, and then understanding how that works around your job effectively. Are you working a really busy 9 to 5, or is it a bit more flexible so that you can fit your property investing into what your requirements are? I love that. That is sound advice. You know what? I never even thought about it like that, actually. I just thought about, when you're buying property just to invest, but you're absolutely right. I think for me personally, I'd probably look at, getting income, not capital appreciation, because I think even though, your property does double over every 10 years, I'd rather have that, that passive income that you're getting. So with property, a lot of people have this sort of understanding, or let's say misconception, that you need to have a high salary to have a property. If you don't have a high salary, what would you say is the best way to get yourself into property investing?
Yeah, if you don't have a high salary, I think the average wage in the UK is, I think it's just over 30 grand. And I mentioned that, up north you can get new build one beds for like 100k. You don't have to buy in the south or London. You can afford stuff, and that involves you getting on a train and going to a city that you've never seen before. But these are the options that are available to us. And I tell you what, I'd put money on, 10, 20 years from now, prices in places like central Liverpool and Manchester being comparable to London. So now is a great time to get in. So look outside of your catchment area or your local area if your area is very expensive. You can also look at, partnering up with someone that you trust, that you trust, putting your money together and doing it that way. But I think those are the main 2 ways that I would really recommend for somebody who's on a budget and wants to get into property investing.
That is fantastic. I never knew that you could get new builds so cheap. In London, it's non-negotiable. It's not happening. You know what? I think people are just liking it like as if they're going on a trip. Honestly, you're going on a nice field trip out of the country. You can enjoy the city. I'm pretty sure that like on all your travels, you probably, had a day out there as well, enjoy the city, gone out to eat and stuff like that, which is what's so lovely about this. But people don't like to travel out of London if you live in London.
Yeah, there's so much of UK alone to see, and I love it. It's like one of my favorite things to like hop on a train or jump in the car and just drive to another city and just see what it's like for the day. And it's like an adventure. I love doing it, but some people they need a bit of a mind shifting to be like, what, you're going to go to another city that you don't know and buy a property there? I'm like,
it's crazy, because when you say what you're saying, it resonates with me so much, because when I bought my first property, the area that I'm living in, it wasn't actually really my first choice. Where was my first choice was Greenwich, where I was actually renting. So, I would love to buy it. There's no way. I couldn't even afford it. I couldn't even look at the price. I was like, no way. Even 2 zones out, I couldn't afford it. So I was like, okay, you know what? This is what I want. I need to move 4 zones out. I need to sacrifice. And ultimately, I'm better for it. I don't regret it at all. I managed to get a good property at a good price. And I think it's just about being flexible. A lot more people need to be more flexible. And just take the plunge, because at the end of the day, right, like Warren says, in a few years time, he's going to be retired, he's going to be a millionaire, and he took the plunge. He took the plunge. So there's been a lot of claims out there. I remember when I first got into property, before I even started looking at property investing, there was a lot of claims out there that there was this potential where you could get onto the property ladder with no money. Is that true? to your knowledge?
With no money. So it depends what they mean, because people talk about this kind of no money down property strategy, and that's quite a lot within the rent to rent circles, which basically means that you don't own the property. You use it, like, like I gave the example, my nightmare example. The guy he was using the property was using a no money down strategy, but that's another conversation for another time. But it's not really no money down, because you do have to spend some money to actually do that strategy. And I say prior to 2008, when I came into banking, there were what you called 100% mortgages. Crazy times, like, people were buying houses with no money, because the economy was booming, and the price of property was going like that. So I mean, I wish I was around. I wish that was going on now.
I wish.
Get a house today with no money down and then sell it in 6 months, and you've made like 10, 20, 30 grand. That was how the market was going.
Wow.
And having been in banking, for like 13 years now, and seeing how policies have changed, I'm not sure we'll see a time like that, but you never know. These things tend to repeat themselves. But I can't think of any other strategies apart from the rent to rent one where it's no money down.
That's what I thought, because when I first initially heard about it, this was when I was a novice. This is when I didn't know anything about property. And then I, started asking a few friends that were into that, and I started researching myself. Then I found out that it was actually rent to rent. So it's sort of misleading people to think that you can buy a property without no money, when actually all you're doing is just renting off somebody else. And even to do that, it's so time consuming. If you got a 9 to 5, it's more than likely you're not going to be able to do that. When are you going to be out there finding tenants? At 6 p.m. when all the estate agents are closed? So
I tried that strategy, just to see what it was like for like 3 to 6 months. It is so time consuming. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, it sounds like it, because it sounds like, I don't even want to be rude to them, but some people say it's like being like a glorified estate agent. Essentially. Yeah, so it's insane. Yes, you can effectively, make money from it if it's your own business, you're professional, you make the landlord happy, and you make sure the tenants you're bringing in don't mess up the place. But it's no easier than, doing anything else in life, if that's what a lot of people think. And that's what people think. They think because it's free, they think is an easier path to riches, essentially, which is so misleading.
Yeah, a lot of people, unfortunately, get sold on that, and they think it's an easy way to get money. But if there were easy ways to get money to make thousands of pounds per month, everybody would be doing it. And
exactly.
It's not reality,
exactly. And it's no fun if it's like that. At the same time, you want to get to your goal. You want to get to your goal gradually. Yes, it should be challenging. It shouldn't be too challenging, but a lot of things are not too challenging. This day and age, you can do it. It's just about studying, like Warren said, watch videos like this, watch other education, save your money, develop a strategy, and then you're good to go. That is literally it. So Warren's given you so many gems. I hope that you have heard what he said, because this is somebody that has gone through this complete process. And I mean, to be honest, you're making it sound so easy that you're making me want to get into property investing. I wanted you to leave 3 things that you think that would be needed for a beginner to start their property investing journey. I know that I asked you, what's the best way, but 3 things that you think that a person would need right now to be able to start their property investing journey.
Yeah, so the first thing is education. So just once you watch videos like this on our channel, and you read a few books, you listen to some podcasts, it's hard. It's a lot harder to fail when you have the knowledge, because nobody can take that away from you.
Exactly.
I would say that's probably been the most important thing, the most beneficial thing for me. And then the 2 other things are more character traits, but patience. This isn't an overnight thing. I said, I was like, this journey began for me 5 years ago when I was £10,000 in debt. I had no property to my name.
Wow.
I was burnt out. I didn't even really have a job. So you need patience. It's a long-term thing, and also consistency. So again, I mentioned saving like religiously every month. And, when you get to, 20, 30 grand in the bank that you're going to use for a deposit, it is so tempting to be like, oh, you know what? I could do other stuff. I could just postpone it and I'll start.
Yeah.
You have to have, consistency and discipline. So yeah, educate yourself, patience, consistency.
I love those three things. Thank you so much, Warren. You've given too many gems beyond the end. I feel like I've learned so much from this half an hour conversation that we've just had, and it's been brilliant. I'm sure that the subscribers are gonna want you to come back. They're gonna want you to do more videos like this, talk a bit more about some of your strategies, talk about a bit more about how you're generating income. But please do tell people about what you're doing, what your next project is, and your YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, so my YouTube channel is Warren Gosling Wealth Matters. So yeah, I'm really starting to talk more around property on there. So yeah, if you want more content like this, find me on there, and also on Instagram at Warren Gosling. And yeah, next up, so property wise, and maybe we can do another video on this, but I'm looking more into commercial property. So I'm looking to go into like shops and those kinds of properties, because they offer different things, especially from like a yield and income perspective. So I'm really looking to do that next up north, of course. But I'll keep you guys posted on how that goes in the next 12 to 24 months.
Awesome. Definitely would want to hear how your journey is going. Definitely would love to share your experiences with the subscribers, because it's great to understand like what it takes to get into commercial properties. Is that even better than residential? Is it a bit more safer? Obviously after COVID happened, all the other different considerations that you have to have as well. I'm sure the subscribers are gonna love hearing that. So thank you so much for your time today, Warren. I hope that you've enjoyed it. I hope, subscribers, that you've definitely had your notepad out, writing all of the gems that Warren has just dropped, because I've learned a lot. I've got my notes ready. So thank you again today, Warren. Is there any last words that you got for the subscribers?
No, keep doing what you're doing, bro. Like, I love what you're doing in the channel from the start. I've learned so much from you. You're saying, you've learned from me property wise. I've learned from you as it relates to stocks and investing and
thank you, bro.
The stock market. So yeah, man, keep doing what you're doing, and just making a difference out here. So thanks for having me on.
Thank you. No, definitely. I'm gonna have you on again. This is not a one and done. This is at some point. This might even be regular. Let's see how it goes. This might be regular. Definitely. I'm like being so serious. Like, I've learned so much, and I feel like what you're doing is you are imparting so much knowledge on people that don't really have this sort of knowledge. People like me and you're black, we're young, we don't have this knowledge, we don't get taught this knowledge, and it's something that's very important for us to build wealth. So I'm loving what you're doing. Keep going. I'm gonna have you back on here again, and thank you again for your time.